there's some slides just for visuals, but mainly I'll just be kind of explaining the process of how I went through the process and how I now help other people go through the process of going from an idea they have in their head to actually licensing it to a company and making royalties from it. So is this where I do the next slide? Yeah. So a little bit about me. On the left is when I graduated from Northeastern back in 2013 with my doctorate in physical therapy. Back then I had one career path, and that was to be a physical therapist and practice physical therapy, and didn't really think of anything else in my future. And then the last picture is me from, or the right picture is me from last year, and that is coaching and judging at a pitch competition for new products. So I've obviously changed career paths a little and have been going in the direction of developing new products and licensing them to companies for royalties. So mainly what I want to cover today is just kind of the process that I went through during it all. So this is the next one. Yeah, so it all started with an idea, right? I had an idea, and the first one is on the left. That was my very first idea back in 2014. I now call it the hair tie handy. It was a bracelet to hold your hair tie in on your wrist. So I thought, well, girls don't necessarily like having this black hair tie all the time on their wrist. They need somewhere to hold it. And I got in touch with a patent attorney and filed for a patent, and he said, well, you got to first draw something, and I drew this. And at the time, I thought it would work, but looking back at it, there's little clasps on the inside, kind of like the ones that when you're wrapping the cord on your vacuum and you want to attach it to another part of the cord. And I thought those would work, but those would end up poking someone's wrist. So obviously ended up changing it in the end. And then the one on the right is my most recent one. That's the walker belt. I copied this cartoon just from something I found on Google, and then I just drew a little belt on it and attached it to the walker. So this was because I was working with some patients in home health who were not staying close enough to the walker. So I was constantly reminding them, get close to the walker, get close to the walker. And I finally took a TheraBand, like one of those exercise bands, and I wrapped it around the walker, I wrapped it around the patient, wrapped it around the other side of the walker, and it worked. So this was the initial, what could I develop from this to help people do that? So I had moved down, oh, did it change slides? No, there we go. I had moved down to San Antonio, Texas, and I didn't know what to do. So I found an Inventors club in San Antonio called the Alamo Inventors Club, and I joined it, and I talked to a few people who said, okay, if you have an idea and you've got this patent in the process, you could do one of two things. You can go the venturing route or the licensing route. If you want to go the licensing route, you should read this book by Stephen Key called One Simple Idea. That's in the middle, and then Stephen Key's on the right. And right after I read the book, I fell in love with the idea of licensing, and I called Stephen, and he became a mentor of mine, and his program InventRight is how I basically learned how to do everything I know how to do now. So they taught me about venturing versus licensing. Venturing is, you have an idea and you think, oh, I'm going to start a business, I'm going to manufacture it myself, I'm going to develop it myself, I'm going to do the marketing, I'm going to do the legal, I'm going to convince stores to put it on their store shelves. And you could do all that, but it's a huge risk and a huge investment up front before even knowing if your product's going to be successful. Versus licensing, you have an idea, you get protection on it, whether that's in the form of intellectual property, a patent or copyright or trademark, and then you contact companies that already have all that stuff established. So they already have the developers, they already have the manufacturers, they already have the marketing, they already have the legal, and you say, this is an idea I have, would you like to license or rent it from me? If they're interested, then they take it on as one of their own products, normally for a contract of about 5 years. And then they produce it as one of their own. They sell it in their stores or online presence or magazine. And then every time they make a sale, you collect a royalty rate. So it's a win-win situation. You don't make money unless they make money, and same thing vice versa. So the steps basically of starting to license starts with research. So the first thing you do when you have an idea, you go to Google and you type in some keywords and you think, okay, here's some things that looks like my product. You kind of do some research on that and say, why is mine better? What are the pros and cons of the current products out there? You can also search on Google Patents. They've got all patents from around the world. You can search for the United States. You can go on uspto.com. That's the United States Patent and Trademark Office. And you want to do some digging. You want to become an expert in your field and figure out what the differentiator is with your own product. Why the products out there already aren't working as well. You can even take a current product and just improve upon it. So it doesn't have to be this new, fresh idea out of nowhere. So once you've done the research and you've figured out that it's basically something new and not already out there, you want to create a prototype. So these are my first prototypes. On the left, so this is for the hair tie handy. So we created a groove on the inside of it for the hair tie to go into, and then a little notch you'll kind of see at the top where your finger can reach through, take the hair tie out, and put your hair up. So the one on the left is a 3D print. I call it the ugly prototype. And that one was created just to figure out the function. So it's a works-like prototype, but not a looks-like prototype. And then the one on the right is when we kind of thinned it out. We spray painted it gold. We made the measurements a little different to make it look better. And then the one at the top is the first virtual prototype we did. So that one was just to figure out, hey, what could this look like if it looked really pretty and was made out of gold or metal or whatnot. So we looked at more virtual prototypes, and these you can get done for pretty inexpensively, definitely more inexpensively than making an actual prototype. So these are some other designs we had done, and I would send these to companies and they would come back with, hey, how can I order 10,000 of those? And they thought that these were real because they look very realistic, but they're not. They're virtual prototypes. They're done by an expert on the computer. I don't know how, but they figure it out and they make these beautiful designs from it. So for the walker belt, when I first came up with that one, I went to a regular craft store and I bought just this big piece of stretchy fabric that's on the left part, and then I bought some elastic, I bought some buckles, I bought some Velcro, and I bought safety pins, and I put it all together with safety pins. And I tried it and it worked. And so I started using it on my patient and it did exactly what I wanted it to do. It kept him within the right distance of the walker so that he wasn't leaning forward, reaching for the walker and making more pain on his back and decreasing his lung capacity because he's in that, typical hunched forward posture. So this was the initial prototype. It was not very attractive, but it worked. And then we decided to make a virtual prototype, which is this one. So this one's the prettier looking one. We didn't really know if we'd use a different kind of padding on the back or what, but it was a good one to use to kind of develop the design and see what we wanted it to look like. So after prototyping, the next step was to protect the idea. So when it comes to protecting your idea, you don't necessarily want to file for a whole patent. I did that the first time, and that I learned later was a big mistake. I did that for my hair tie handy bracelet. You end up spending a lot of money on something that you haven't even proved that the market is interested in yet. So there's something called a provisional patent application, or a PPA. It's $70 to submit it to the USPTO. You can write it yourself. And what it does is it gives you 12 months to be able to test the market, per se. So you can go out there and you can contact companies and say, this is the idea I have, and you can consider it patent pending as long as you filed this PPA. So I suggest, everything else being ready. And when somebody submits their PPA, say tomorrow, November 20th, they should have everything ready to start calling companies that day because they only have 12 months. And you don't want to get to the end of the 12-month period, because at the end of the 12-month period, you either have to let it lapse and expire or create a patent out of it. And that's the very expensive one that you have to go through. So A PPA is great, highly recommended for any idea. It could be a few pages long. You can do a drawing. You can write down the benefits of the product and submit it for $70. So definitely recommend protecting your idea in that way before contacting companies. When you contact companies, you'll want to create something called a sell sheet. And this is an example of a sell sheet. It's going to be the title of your product at the top, so whatever you want to call it. I initially called this the posture correcting walker belt. You want to put the benefits on there, one big benefit: walk farther, longer, taller, and safer, and then a few smaller benefits with bullet points. You want it to be simple. So you want somebody to be able to look at this and understand how it works within 3 seconds. It's kind of the billboard rule, right? Someone's driving by, they need to understand what's going on very quickly. So you have a before and after picture, you've got a picture of what the product could look like, patent pending status on the bottom, and contact information. So this is what you would send a company to see whether they'd be interested in the product or not. Also on there you can see a link, watch video now. Video is not required, but a video can really help demonstrate how the product works if someone's having a hard time understanding it. So this is the video I made for the walker belt. I don't know if I can play it on here. Let's see if we can. Maybe not. No, I'm not sure how to play it. Well, anyways, maybe we could go to YouTube actually. Oh no, I could do that after. There's 2 other video links. Yeah, we can do it after. Okay, so these are other example videos as well. I'll show you guys them at the end. We'll go out of the presentation and go into YouTube. So once you've got all that together, you've got the sell sheet, you've protected your idea, you've maybe prototyped it, whether real or virtual, you want to figure out who your potential licensees are. So who are your potential licensees? A lot of people think at first it's going to be the stores. So it's going to be the retail stores like Target, Walmart, Bed Bath & Beyond, Sears, Dick's Sporting Goods, Best Buy. It's actually not. It's going to be the brands that those stores carry. So it's going to be the Goody, the Nerf, Keurig, Black & Decker, any brand that manufactures its own products. Some of those stores may manufacture their own products or have their own brand, but you want to contact the brand, not the store itself. So if you look at these brands, they're innovative. They've got new stuff coming out all the time. Some of them on like their website will have a submit idea here. I always contact the companies directly. I get someone on the phone. I say, hi, my name is Haley Waud. I'm a product developer. I have a new product I'd like to submit to your company for licensing consideration. Are you the person to speak to about this? And once they say, yes, I am, I say, great, I've got some information. Can I send you an email? They say, sure. And I send over my sell sheet. So I don't do any selling over the phone. It's completely the visual sell sheet. They can look at it on their own time. They can watch the video. They can show it to other people. But I'm not just calling them up as a cold caller and saying, hey, you should be interested in my product. Here's why. I'm just sending the information. So those are the potential licensees. Once they show some interest, you start working back and forth. You negotiate some stuff. You figure out an ideal royalty rate. A lot of people are interested in what the royalty rate is. It tends to be 3 to 8% of wholesale price. So when you have a product, there's 3 costs involved. There's the manufacturing cost, which is how much it costs the manufacturer to make it. Then there's the wholesale price, so that's how much the manufacturer sells it to the retailer for. And then finally is the retail price, how much the retailer sells it to the consumer for. So the wholesale price in the middle, that's normally what the percentage is taken off of. And like I said, 3 to 8%, 5 is average. So they're doing a lot of the work, and once the contract's signed, you kind of get to go on back to your full-time day job. They do all the effort, so obviously they get a higher percentage and they put the risk out there. But in the end, I say it's like sitting on the couch and collecting royalty checks. Like I said before, those could be up to 5-year contracts or life of patent, which could be up to 20 years. So depends on that. And after you've got one license, it's rinse and repeat. So the more things you come up with, higher the chances of getting multiple licensing deals, and you can make a full-time living out of it. So I say strength in numbers, and obviously the more you do it, the easier it gets. So that's actually my walker belt that launched a few months ago on the company's website on the bottom left, and then it's also on Amazon on the bottom right. I licensed that one to a company in New Jersey called Mars Wellness. And, at the beginning of the process, my patent attorney was having some people come to him and saying, hey, I've got this idea for an invention. I want to get a patent, and he could help them with that. And then they'd say, but I don't know what to do after I get the patent. And he said, well, go talk to my friend Haley, my friend and client. She is a licensing expert, and she can help you. So I started out just by mentoring individuals, independent inventors, and helping them with their ideas and figuring out where to go from there. And it built up into, now I have a consulting business called Eureka Hub. And I help people that have ideas, don't know what to do with them, and I help them through the same steps that I just walked you guys through, and help them figure out, hey, what do I respond to this person when they say this to me, and everything like that. So it has become a full-time business from what just started as a passion, and I now work as a PT about 1 day a week, and I mainly consider my PT stuff to just stay current and get market research for my next product in the medical field. So I still continue that and still love it, but in the end, this is my passion. So this is now what I'm doing. So that's all I've got for you guys. I can show those videos now if it's possible. Let's see.
Hi Haley, this is Diana from the Office of Alumni Relations jumping in. As we try to figure out how to play the videos, I just want everybody to know that you're able to submit questions for Haley. In the bottom right hand corner, you'll see that there are these double arrows. Click on that and then the sidebar opens up, and if you click on the chat bubble, you'll be able to type and submit in questions for Haley. Great, thank you Alexandra Monroe for telling us that this was a great presentation. So as I try to assist you, Haley, with getting the YouTube videos up, do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Sure.
So, can I share an idea with a company that's an improvement to one of their own current products?
Yes, absolutely. So somebody I know well has submitted an idea to a company that's a miniature version of something that they already have. So just because he went and protected it being a miniature version, they licensed the idea from him and now created it on a keychain. So you can definitely take something the product already has, make an improvement to it or a small change, and as long as you protect it and it's not already protected in the IP that they have, you can absolutely license it to a company.
What's the hardest part about licensing?
The most time-consuming part is contacting companies. They're very busy people that you're contacting. They, already have a full-time thing that they're working on, and you're throwing this new idea in there. So it's following up with them. It's figuring out what they need from you. It's figuring out if they're interested or not. And for some people, when they first contact companies, I think hearing no is the scariest part. But you get used to it after a while. If you contact, 30 companies, it's okay if you hear 29 no's as long as there's one yes. So I'd say that's definitely the hardest part.
What about Shark Tank?
Yeah, a lot of people ask me about Shark Tank. But Shark Tank, so if you guys watch it, I love the show, by the way, but it is mainly for entertainment purposes. And if you listen, Mr. Wonderful all the time will say, hey, have you considered licensing? So I feel like I'd be, giving away some equity to learn about licensing and do something that I already know how to do. So you can learn it all on your own. You don't necessarily need people like Shark Tank or anything to figure it out. So yeah, that's how I feel about Shark Tank.
Okay. Personally, I love that show.
I do too.
Won't a company steal my idea if I share it with them?
No, that's a big fear people have. because of social media these days, people, if you were to submit an idea to a company and they were to take it and run with it and not give you any royalty rate, you would, blast them on social media. Everyone would hear about it, and no one would ever want to submit another idea to them again. So companies don't want to risk that. They're okay getting the 5 or 8 or whatever percentage for your idea. They're not 99% of them are not going to steal an idea. It's too much work to go out there and do it to get a bad rep, basically.
Okay, we have a question submitted by one of our participants. At which point should someone reach out to you or your company? Should they already have drawings, already have a prototype, a PPA?
Yeah, so most people who reach out to me just have an idea. They don't know any of these steps. They don't really, some of them may have a drawing they did, or maybe they've made a prototype, but majority of people have nothing. So I kind of start them with the process of, okay, what's the best way to prototype it? Should we do virtual? Should we, buy a few things at the store, break them apart, glue them together? Should we do a 3D print? Is a prototype even necessary? And then like the PPA, in my contract, we've got a non-disclosure agreement. So, I mean, everything's confidential with me. So a PPA is not needed before talking to me. I normally recommend bouncing the idea off of a couple friends before. So most people don't have a PPA before doing that, but definitely getting a PPA before contacting companies. Definitely a sell sheet and maybe a prototype.
Great. Okay, we are going to attempt to play the video examples here. Just one quick second as we share our screen with all of you. But please, again, if you have any more questions, please type it in the chat bubble. I already see that there's a few in here. So hold on one quick second, guys, and we'll show you these video examples of the perfect picture and the ice genie. Well, as we get that ready, we have another question. Is there usually money exchanged in the initial licensing negotiations? If so, what is the general range?
So it depends. In my contracts, there have not been, but I have heard of people who will get an initial upfront amount of money. It's obviously something that an inventor wants, but the licensee is taking on a lot of risk of, putting money into actually manufacturing the product, and they don't know how many are going to sell, if it's going to sell. So they're normally not as likely to give you kind of an upfront bonus per se, but it is there. I don't know the amounts that it has been for the people that have gotten it.
At one point, do you ask for a non-disclosure agreement when presenting your idea to a company?
So if you have the PPA in place before contacting a company, then you're normally protected. If you feel like you would like extra protection, then it's okay to ask for a non-disclosure agreement. Most companies will already have one that they'll present to you, and you will just sign theirs. But some companies also may be a little turned off by it. So I normally recommend not asking a company for it. The PPA is, enough. They also, when you file a PPA, they can't go online and see what's written in the PPA. So if, you're telling a company about a new spatula that you've made and it's gonna, flip every burger perfectly or something, they don't know what you protected in the PPA. So they may think that you just have a spatula that does this, but maybe you wrote 10 other things in the PPA, and they, if they even tried to get around your idea, they don't know if your other idea is technically protected in the PPA. I don't know if that makes sense, but basically you don't worry so much about them stealing an idea. And they, some of them will go vice versa. There'll be a mutual NDA where you're not even allowed to tell people that you've been discussing the product idea with that company. And some companies will want you to sign it before moving forward at all. So
Okay. All right. We're doing attempt number 2 right now. Hold on one quick second, guys. My apologies. All right. I am now showing the video for the ice cube maker. All right. That was actually a really cool invention.
Yeah, that one I like because it shows it quickly, you understand it, and it's simple. It shows the issue at the beginning and then shows the solution for majority of the video. So that's a good video.
Cool. All right, then. Sorry, everybody. Another question, Haley, and this is a little bit off topic here. So you have 2 passions. How do you have the time to really indulge in both physical therapy as well as Eureka Hub?
Yeah, so physical therapy is down to about once a week. I focus on that just one day a week to I've got some patients that I've been seeing for a while and to keep current with my license and looking for my next possible product in the medical field. And then Eureka Hub I do the rest of the week. And it's, I think, pretty easy to work on something that's your passion. I I'm much more passionate about Eureka Hub than I was about physical therapy, but I do still enjoy it. So I think it was a slow transition of full-time PT and maybe one day a week just working on products, and then over time it's transitioned to the opposite. So yeah.
Oh, cool. All right. If anybody else has any other questions, again, please feel free to chat in the chat box. If not, then Haley, do you have any last minute suggestions or tips for people who have a passion but don't know really where to start?
Yeah, that's where I was at the beginning. So I would definitely say if your passion is, or if you have an idea that you want to move forward with, definitely reading that book, One Simple Idea by Stephen Key, is where I got started. And just finding somebody who's done it before and can help kind of guide you along in the process. Just joining the Inventors Club and being surrounded by other people that were in the same boat as me was super helpful. And they were there to answer all my questions and just help me along the way. So yeah.
Cool. I see someone else is typing really quickly. But what's the most rewarding part about your business?
When you see your idea online, or when you hold it for the first time, or you see people buy it and seeing it helping them, it's incredible because it goes from just this idea in your head of I think this could work, and then a year later actually holding it and seeing it being sold is incredible, knowing that, hey, that was just an idea that came out of my mind and now it's out there working and helping others.
Great, Haley. All right. Okay. I'm looking forward to checking out your website and looking at the packages available to help license and product an idea. Thanks, Haley. Well, thank you, Nicola, for submitting that. All right. We'll take one last round for questions.
I see some questions actually. What is your fee, and would the slides for the session be available afterwards? What's on there? Yeah, so I do like a monthly fee, so I'll work with someone for either 1 month, 3 months, or 6 months. And I offer it for $500 for a month, $1,200 for 3 months, and $2,000 for 6 months. So depending on the speed someone feels like they can go at, those are the packages I work with. And I don't know, will the slides for the session be available afterwards, or will the webinar presentation?
Yep. Thank you for that lovely little segment, that segue in there. We will be sending out an email following this webinar with the recording link so that you can watch this webinar again and again. And if you would love for us to share your slides, Haley, we'll definitely do that as well. And we have,
Of course.
and the book title will also be in there too. So don't worry, we can all pick up the book at our local store and all be inspired to start our own ventures and products. Okay.
Perfect.
All
Thank
right.
you
Well,
so much.
thank you, Haley, and thank you everybody for joining us. I hope wherever you are it is warm and that you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving break. Again, thank you so much for being with us, Haley. It's been a pleasure, and we're excited to see more products and more businesses come out of you.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.